All right, everybody, it's time to get the show back on the road. Okay, this next speaker might have been surprised that I was like, yeah, come speak. So Thesia is someone I've known for a few years. I met her first via email because she was listening to my podcast. And she has been on her own journey of taking ownership for her life and her well-being, acknowledging that there's only one person that you can change, and that's you. Which means when you're in a bad situation, your reaction to that situation is the only thing you have control over. If somebody else is involved in a bad situation, you can't change them. And I think it's really hard for many of us who are preppers, who have maybe spouses who are not on board, we're like, how do we change them? And the answer is, you can lead them along and encourage them to join you in something. But can you really change your spouse? Can you really change what they're going to do or where their priorities are? Not really, right? It's up to you. That's why that shirt says it's up to you. I brought it out for your presentation. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Thesia, whose name I finally learned how to say right after 3 years. Take it away.
Hi guys, I am Thesia of Ellis Family Farms, and the first thing you're going to say is, what in the world is a Thesia? I don't know. My mom was the last of 9 kids. Grandma had run out of names, and the Greek nurse who helped deliver her was named Thesia. And so my mother's named Thesia, and so myself. Now let's go down a little deeper. My middle name is Vernice. Mom, where'd you get Vernice? She goes, well, that's my mother's name. I'm thinking, okay. And my maiden name was Dayhoff. Now, when you're learning to write in school, that takes a little bit of work. Okay, now, what I'm going to tell you is I've got people in the audience. It might be a bumpy ride, some of the stuff I tell you. So I've got people in the audience that if they're like doing this, that means I need to go into a different mode. Because I'm 60, I'm considered old now. So if I'm going to be touching subjects and I get this, I'll just go, and I'm old, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, all right? So maybe that'll help lighten it up a little bit for you. Guys, I love men, but my story is going to make it sound like I really hate your guts, but I don't. I love men, okay? So everything I've been through in my life has prepared me for what I am now. You don't realize that as you're going through your life. You go, man, this sucks. I won't do this anymore. But it's preparing you what's coming down the road next, and just get through it and keep on going. I am from Northeast Oklahoma, and everybody associates Oklahoma with tornadoes, and that is very true. I was born in the Tulsa area, but during my teenage years, I lived in Southwest Oklahoma. It's much more flat. You can see the tornadoes coming. And I have to admit, one year I was part of a boys baseball team playing in right field, and it's muggy and it's hot, and I didn't want to be there because nobody was hitting the ball as far as I was. And I looked up, and there's 5 tornadoes in a row, spinning up and dissipating, and spinning up and dissipating. And I'm thinking, man, that's awesome. But one of them turned into a real tornado, and it started hailing rocks, and we're trying to get things put together. And we lived about 7 miles from where the baseball field was. So my mom's driving. Every time we went around the country road, my mom's going, where's it to us now? Where's it to us now? And we're going, it's over there, Mom. And then so also where I'm from, they have like community cellars. So all of you run, and the ladies sit in their chairs along the edges, and the kids playing, the men stand at the doorway and go, yup, there it goes, And I wanted to be one of those guys going, yup, there it goes. And I also knew that when I grew up, I wanted to be a storm chaser. Apparently, I have not grown up yet, so I've not been able to be a storm chaser. I married for life 3 times. My first marriage was a high school sweetheart, and we got married, and he went to the military. And by the time we got to live together, I had a 5-week-old baby, and we were living in Alaska, 4,500 miles away from home. And something happened to him in basics and IIT, and that marriage became very contentious and very violent. And back in those days, this was We married in 80, and so 81. Back in those days, you didn't call the cops and say, my husband's beating me. My neighbors pulled up the chairs and watched us fight, you know, okay? So that's how much things have changed over the years. When we were getting stationed from Fort Wayne, Alaska, down to Fort Hood, Texas, my first husband was a heavy wheel diesel mechanic. You think that he would know how to work on cars? He did not. We drove a 66 Chevy Impala down the Alcan. Beautiful. Canada's beautiful. The people are nice and beautiful. The gas tank fell off. The exhaust fell off 6 times. The left front wheel fell off twice. All kinds of, and then like, okay, if you put, it's a 2-speed power glide transmission, so I'm going to lose some of you, I'm sorry. But if you put the transmission in low to get over a mountain, the linkage to the transmission was hitting the exhaust pipe that was not in place, and it was falling off. So we'd have to coast to the side, and then we're looking for this linkage with signs that are going, stay in your cars, there are bears around. It's like, okay. We survived that. We got down to Texas. I waited until my first husband got stationed in Korea so that he had a chance to cool down before he come back and having issues with me giving him a divorce. And by then I was going to marry my ex-husband. So I've got the first husband, and I've got the ex-husband, and I've got the last husband. So we're on the ex-husband now, okay? And we ended up moving from Texas to California. And so while I was in California, I thought, well, I'd like to be an actress or do something like that. Actually, I thought stand-up comedy would be pretty good. So I went, and I was in my 30s at that time, late 20s, early 30s, and I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. So I went to an audition, and I had this whole thing all set up, and it was going to be about all the cars that I've pushed, because the Impala was not the only car I pushed over the years. And so I was telling all this story, but the lady in the audition was in her 50s, and it was just one woman. And so I did my spiel, and I went, okay, I'm done. And she goes, that's all true, isn't it? I'm going, yeah. And she goes, that's not funny. That's very sad. So my stand-up comedy days are done. When I lived in California, this was late 80s, early 90s, the job situation was completely different there. Like one man I knew, he was looking for an assistant for a business he was running. He only needed one assistant, and he had 300 applicants. Okay, so you couldn't even get a full-time job. I worked 5 part-time jobs, and I was allergic to smog. So I had headaches, I had asthma. I was not very fun to be with. And apparently, my ex-husband didn't think I was very fun to be with either, and he left me for another woman. So I moved back to Oklahoma. Then I got to, one of the things I did, because I've done a lot of jobs over the years, guys. You know, I didn't really want to go without work, but I got to be a meter reader. Loved being a meter reader. Just loved it. You get to walk, you get to people's yards, you get to scratch their dogs and read the meters. We had to read a meter a minute. I had to get into your backyard, get that meter read, and move on, okay? But I got into the backyard of one of them, and the canine people, I don't know if they can hear me or not, because I got into a backyard and I'm scratching up this dog. It's like, yeah, good boy, let's go read your meter, you know? Next thing I knew, I'm looking down the barrel of a shotgun. I'm thinking, meter reader, you know, and he's going, oh, well, it was a cop. It was an off-duty cop. I woke him up because I was playing with this dog. And he's going, oh, I shot you. And you run my dog. Because apparently it was going to be a canine unit dog, and you're not supposed to play with their dogs. So I ruined this dog, but I didn't get shot, and that was a good thing. Because I had already been through 2 marriages, I thought, I don't need a husband, so I hooked up with this other guy and decided I didn't need him as a husband. And the first couple of years was doing pretty good, but over time I found out that he was a alcoholic drug addict, and he became pretty violent and stuff too. So after a couple of years of dealing with that, he punched me in my ear, and I had to get stitches in it. And you know, when you're stressed, I'm one of those, when I'm stressed, I crack jokes. So I'm in the hospital having my ear sewn up, and the doctor was sewing me up. And of course, I don't know how to deal with women who are getting punched, you know. So I said, dude, if I could throw a punch as well as I took one, I'd be doing good. And he's looking at me like, woman, I don't know about that, you know, but that's okay. So I kicked him out and threw his stuff in the yard. So when he got out of jail, he can come get his stuff. I kind of felt bad about throwing his stuff out in the yard, but I didn't know what else to do with it. And when he got, so I saw him 2 or 3 months later. and I said, hey, I got some of your stuff at the house. It's not very much, but I'd feel better if you had all the rest of your stuff. And he goes, okay, so he come over to the house, and this is going to be a little tough, and I'm really sorry, but he proceeded to rape and sodomize and beat me up for the next hour and a half. 6'4", 220 pounds at that time, was lifting steel for a living. I fought for my life for an hour and a half. And at one point I'm pinned, and I'm losing. I am losing the fight. And God says, play dead. I'm going, play dead? I'm going to lose all my momentum. He goes, play dead. So I went dead. 4 times I lived because I played dead. Now, I don't know how the laws are in the rest of the United States, but when you are attacked in the state of Oklahoma, you are a witness to a crime against the state of Oklahoma. If, when you go to court, if they do not like your testimony, if they don't like the way you carry yourself, you're not going to be on the stand, and they're not going to use you for your testimony. So I learned that. I was like, all right. And that was fine. That man got 5 years for sexual assault because he was an ex-boyfriend. You can't call it rape. And 2 years for assault with intent to kill. And he was out of prison and in my neighbor's yard looking at me 9 months after the attack. Okay? That, I won't lie, that scared me, because they told me whenever I got attacked, do I want to go to safe house? I'm like, no, I ain't going to no safe house. I didn't do nothing wrong. I ain't going to hide for nobody. But then whenever he got out of prison, I'm going, well, maybe I should have. But he moved on, so I was good about that. But it was tough because that was an issue. It was an issue, and I had insomnia, and I took on this persona of I'm the toughest bitch in the world. Now, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it a bit. I wanted to crawl in a hole. I wanted to die. I wanted everybody to go away. I had 2 boys I was trying to raise as a single mom at this point. But my mantra that got me out of bed every day was, I'm the toughest bitch in the world. Come on, I'm the toughest bitch in the world. And they, you know, so that's what got me through until I met my last husband. I met Tom, wonderful man. He really is a good guy. He took me fishing. He took me camping. We went boating. I learned how to fish, and I learned to relax, because you can tell by looking at me that I'm generally wound up like an 8-day clock, you know? Especially when you're only getting like 2 hours of sleep a night. So whenever we met, I was a mess. So at that point, when we met, I had just, I was in the restaurant. Ooh, sorry.
So don't worry about it.
Okay. I was in the restaurant business, and then I had a chance to go work in a machine shop, because I thought, you know what, I can't make enough money to support kids on women's jobs. I'm going to go get to work in a machine shop. So that's what I did. I worked days in the machine shop, and then the evenings I worked at the laundromat for my husband. But then everyone goes, but you got to get a degree so that you can get a job. So I thought, okay, so I quit the machine shop, and at this point I moved in with Tom. And I was working the laundromat in the daytime and going to school at night. It took me 5 years to get a 2-year degree. Thank you. So that's terrible. But Tom's dad had passed, and there was a 40-acre plot of land, reclaimed coal pits, which means they went through and they strip mined and took everything good out of it, and then they bulldozed it. So it was a 40-acre plot. Tom's 2 sisters and himself, we inherited the middle 13 and a third acres, and each of his sisters on each end. And my name eventually ended up getting on that. My name wasn't on. Tom had greenhouses. He had a house in town, and the only thing that my name was on was the land. And I thought, you know what, this is where I'm going. I don't care what it is. We planted a vineyard in 07. No, we built the barn on the property in 07. And we planted the vineyard in 08. And with the auger, when we were digging into the ground to bring up to make a hole to plant the grapevines in, we were bringing up grease rags. We were bringing up car solenoids and stuff. And I realized, we found out later that's where the motor pool was for that strip mine. So it's not lovely land, but we tried to do that. But that was my focus. On the north end of the property, we built a house for Tom's mother. That didn't go well. she was a raging alcoholic, and we're working really hard to make her happy. And she'd sit there and she's pounding, I know how to build a house, and this is not how you're doing it. And we like moved walls for her and everything. And at one day, Tom snapped. He goes, Mom, don't talk to my wife that way. Don't talk to me that way. We're not coming back until until you can apologize. Well, what we didn't know was about 20 minutes after we left, she fell, broke her arm, broke her leg, and laid in the yard for 19 and a half hours until somebody found her. But we didn't know that. That sent my husband into a deep, deep depression. He quit bathing. He quit brushing his teeth. If you told him he needed to bathe, it's like, dude, you stink. I'm sorry, but really, if you gotta bathe, oh, you think I stink? Yeah, I'm not trying to tell you this hurt your feelings, but you stink. So go take a shower. But he let everything go. The laundromat, by the time we sold off the laundromat, only 50% of the machines worked. And so we were selling stuff. We just recently sold his rent houses. And they had sat and rotted for so long. In this market, they sold for $7,500 a piece. So he let a lot of things go. And I had discovered over time that not only was it depression, but bipolar runs in the family. So he would bring in Mopars. You all familiar with Mopars, the cars, the old Dodges and stuff like that. So he bought a bunch of them. And then he'd abandon them. The barn is full of junk. The bees, he hasn't been in the vineyard. We got 320 grapevines, and he hasn't been in the vineyard in years. The bees, he started keeping bees. He got to 85 hives and walked away from them. I've got beehives all over Rogers County, and I don't know anything about them. So there's basically, when I'm thinking I'm getting my husband back is when he's going into the manic part. And I got concerned when we got down to mystery meat in the bottom of the freezer. And I thought, I've been hungry before, and I ain't doing this. Because when I was a single mom, I always made sure that my boys had food. But there were times that I went without food, and I'm not going to do that. So I decided, and then we bought this camper for $2,800, and I decided we're moving out to the camper. The house that we were living in is falling apart too. So we lived in a camper, and I thought, okay, we can do this temporarily. This would be great. I can do anything temporary. 7.5 years later, we're living in a camper. There was no running water at first. We finally got some water down the vineyard after I fought for it. The camper was not plumbed, so basically I did dishes down by the vineyard for a while, and then it got to where I was doing dishes and laundry and stuff at my mother-in-law's house. That didn't go over well, and so it took me a couple of years to even get a bathroom. And during that time, I found a church nearby us, and they're very kind, very, very nice people. They believe in loving you and then until you come around, which is good because I was angry. I was like, I've had enough. I've had enough of men. I've had enough of living in a camper. I've had enough of all this stuff. And then, they're going, well, you just got to love people. Like, when's the last time you didn't have a bathroom? So they softened me up quite a bit. But I have to admit that while the junk was stacking up on the property, I was angry, and I was trying to figure out how to make this place. And then, okay, I know I learned about Jack Spirko, learned about copy canning, and of course I had to do the chickens thing and stuff, and I started doing my own thing, and then my husband's going, I don't think we need 3 bottles of ketchup. I'm going, I got the ketchup, so just deal with it. So I got my little pantry with the little stuff on it. And he's not on board. He has a cognitive dissonance. He doesn't want to think about if things might go bad. He doesn't want to deal with it. So somebody has to do it. Now my issue with that at the time though was, when I'm going to this church, I always go, the man is the head of the family. Well, and that's what the Bible says, so it has to be. I'm going, no guys, I really want the man to be the head of the family. Actually, I really want to be side by side with him. I want us to have a partnership. And I am dragging this man through life, and I'm tired, and I want a partnership. And I don't care what the Bible says, and I love Jesus, guys. Jesus died for my sins, I'm grateful for that, but when Paul says the man is the head of the family, it's like, well, it ain't been head of my family, I'm the head of the family. And so I'm waiting for them to do this so I can start doing the old lady thing, so I'm kind of get in there, I don't know. So they say get your spouse on board. I'm always hearing, how did I get my spouse on board? Don't. What do you care? Don't get them on board. They're not going to anyway. If you're the man, you're the head of the family. You talk that woman into marrying you. You can't convince them that you can have, that you're going to try to provide for them. Now, okay, no, a little bit of note. Some of you guys that listen to your EDCs, your everyday carry, and most of you guys ain't butts, and I don't know how we keep your pants up. Because if by the time you take this pocket knife out and that thing out, you got, I don't know how you keep your pants on. Now, but the reason I say that is because if you are trying to talk to your wife about doing something, all the toys that you think are really cool, it's probably not the best idea. She's probably more interested in the food and on the other stuff. Women, if your man doesn't take care of that stuff, have you not figured out how to work around them? Work around them. Okay? Do what you got to do to take care of your family. You know? Nobody's asking for the king yet. That's good, because I can go into that. And one of the things I struggle with it too is I've been told, well, you don't need to tell men how to do things because that hurts their ego. Guys, I can't help your ego. I am not going to stroke your ego. That's your job. Okay? Take care of your families, do what you got to do. When I was 50, I realized that I already lived more than I had left. I mean, we don't know how long we're going to be here anyway. But I realized I'd already lived more than I had left. And I was talking to my mom one point, and I said, Mom, I have tried so hard to fit in. I've tried so hard to make my spouses happy. I've tried so hard to make people happy. And I just don't fit in. And she goes, well, I didn't want to tell you this, but you had signs of autism when you were so young. I'm going, oh, it is me. I'm never going to fit in. Yeah, I'm never going to fit in. I've lived more than half of my life. I'm never going to fit in. I'm going to be me. And that has been life-changing. I love it. I love it. Now I've got to show you one of the things. Let me find it. This. I don't know if y'all can see this or not. This says, live like somebody left the gate open. This little dog's just running like heck. And I thought, that's me. I'm going to live like somebody left the gate open. Well, I did for a while, and I still do. But you know, when you get older, you start having a few health issues and stuff. I needed to get custody of my granddaughter, and that was very contentious and very, very difficult. And when I got this little girl, she was 11 at the time. She's 16. She just turned 16. She was a mess. And so I was trying to take care of her. Both of my parents had had strokes. And so the stress of trying to get, and they wanted to move to Florida. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to sidetrack another thing here too is, okay, Mom had a stroke when she was 65. She lost her right side. Dad had his stroke a few years later, and he lost half of his brain. And neither one of them need to be driving, but Dad's driving got really bad. If you go to Jacksonville, Florida, do not get near anyone that's old. Mom had decided that Dad's driving had gotten so bad that she was going to get her driver's license. So she sat through classes with a bunch of 16-year-olds to get her driver's license. She can't write. So Dad sat in class with her and took notes for her. They gave her a driver's license. So don't go to Jacksonville, Florida. That is just too much. That was traumatic. I don't know. But, oh, let me find the rest of my notes here. So I got them to Florida, dragging Tom through life, trying to make a life on a property, trying to take care of a 16-year-old. Now I got to show you this picture first. This is my beautiful granddaughter. I will kill and die for her. Okay, just so don't mess with her. Okay, but the stress of dealing with all that, and then I found out it has severe food allergies. I got sick, guys. This is what I look like in February of 2020. Severe eczema, sick as a dog, itching, scratching, waking up in the middle of the night in the camper, slaying on my hands. I'm sorry, guys, because I just itch so badly. And so Yeah, that kind of sidelined me for a little while, but I'm back on track again. So I'm 60 now. It takes a while to get some of these projects done. Part of it is because Kinsey, my granddaughter, is very important to me. She needed somebody, she needed a strong woman to say, ain't nobody gonna mess with you, I'm here. And she knows that. I wanted to make sure now, because she's 16, she's blossomed, she's moving on, she's doing her own thing. But when we first got custody, she was up my butt all the time. And that was fine, but I told her, you need me, you just call me and I'll be there. And don't tell me that somebody needs to be killed, because I will do it, you know. So, but that's part of the thing. We did buy a motorhome, not a motorhome. I want to say trailer house, because I'm from Oklahoma. We call them trailer houses, but they're mobile homes, guys. I'm trying to be upgraded a little bit. But we bought a $2,500 mobile home that I'm trying to learn how to remodel, because it was full of water damage and rodent damage and stuff. And even now, we finally got it moved into it, but I'm on subflooring. And anybody who watches my channel knows I'm still trying to figure out how to do my skirting on my house, because we're on a hill and it keeps blowing down, and I keep trying to find ways to hold it up. I'll get there. So I'm trying to learn how to do that, and I do have. We're talking about, we own 26 2/3 of the acreage now. Man, can you imagine if you had, what would you think you would do with that? But at 60 you go, okay, how much energy do you have? How much are you going to get accomplished? I don't know, but I ain't ready to give up yet. In fact, my husband's Aunt Frankie, sweetest woman, love this woman dearly. She just turned 89. And she is in the hospital right now, but 2 weeks ago she was out raking leaves because she wanted to rake leaves. I thought, yeah, that's a woman after my own heart. So if I live to 90, if I live to 100, if I live to 62, I don't know. I'm gonna live until I die. Oh, anybody watch my, live until you die. This is all we've got. This is it, just like when he talks about the dash. What are you doing with your dash? What are you doing with it? Are you sitting there being scared? I don't know. I hope not. I do know that when we started having food shortages and stuff, I was kind of heartbroken, because I'd gone to my church and said, guys, things are going to get rough. But I'm on 40 acres. I can do chickens, I suck at gardening, but I can do the animal part. And if we do this as a church, we can make sure that we can feed each other. And they said, well, you know, God will provide. And I'm going, God is providing. He's providing this acreage for you. Yeah, you know, and they couldn't do it. And the ladies would go, well, we'll be fine. And of course, I was trying to be good with men and their egos, not tell them that they needed to take care of it. So I did finally tell my pastor, hey guys, you know, I could have helped, and I would if you want to now, but if it's too late, then don't come knocking on my door, because I've already extended it. So I have no idea how long this has lasted, but I'm at the end of my notes.
Okay. I have some questions for you.
Uh-oh, okay.
Right. How many times have you tried skirting your mobile home? Well, the north end is like 46 inches high, and I've built a thing for that, but when I get back home, I've got another section I got to redo. And it's how many
on the west
times?
side.
10?
No, I think I'm only on 5.
She's on 5. So picture this. You've got a mobile home, and the skirting helps keep things warmer.
Yeah.
And where do you live?
In northeast Oklahoma.
And what's that like in the winter?
Oh, let me tell you this. Okay, so...
It's cold, right?
Yeah.
Well, wait, hold that thought.
Okay.
So here's what I see Thecia do. Skirting is up. I did it. I didn't have a man help me because he wouldn't. Which is fine. There's no reason that, as a woman, you can't get a drill out and learn how to use it and do stuff, right? Do you know how to put a garden bed in, Mary? Yes. Yes, she does. She worked hard putting that garden bed in. Week later or so, that skirting's on the ground, because of why? Wind? Wind. Because you know what else Oklahoma has? Oklahoma has wind. And so, this is not gender specific. Anybody who that happens to is going to get a little frustrated, right? You just put all this time in, you were so proud of yourself, and it failed. Thecia did not say, woe is me. Next thing I see is another video with skirting back up. And then another video with skirting back up. And then another video with skirting back up. Which is why we say here, it's up to you. That's why I put that shirt up for you. Because you don't give up. And that is the most important part of your story.
Yeah. Yep.
The most important part. Do you want to tell your story now, or do you want to take questions?
No, I do have a story. The wall behind the stove collapsed. And so this last winter, the only thing that was between me and outside was the outer skin of this mobile home. And it was 6 degrees one morning, and I'm trying to cook this man's breakfast, and my toes are getting cold. I'm going, Tom, if we don't get this wall fixed, I'm going to kick some butt. And he goes, well, we got to pull the stove out. I said, well, let's get on it then. And now, one of the things, he does come and help me stuff, but he hasn't listened to the podcast. He doesn't watch the videos. So whenever I want to accomplish something, I've already done the research and he wants to do it a different way. But if he wants to help, I'm going to let him help. But that's part of the reason I've had to do the skirting over again. Oh no, we don't need to brace that. It'll be fine. Well, guess what? We need to brace it.
We needed to brace that, dude. Okay, and that just happens. And so when sometimes being true to yourself means I'm going to get this done no matter what it takes. Many of you know I've had a goat on my roof a time or two. Or 20. I haven't had a goat on my roof in 2 years. It took not giving up. And the difference between, if you don't feel successful, how many people don't feel successful right now and are willing to admit it? The only thing between you right now and success is trying again and again and again. How many of you feel successful? You've started something on your own. Keep your hands up if you've failed at something on the journey there. All the hands are up. Nobody's hand went down. Nobody just started something. I only know one person who became a rock star out of the chute. And he was just lucky that time, right? The only thing between you and success is keeping going and not giving up and trying again and adjusting. And sometimes you adjust what you want to do, but if you don't stop, you're gonna get there. Because most people do what? They stop. Okay, questions? Any questions for Thesia? From the Zoom or from the audience? I know your name, Melissa. What is it?
So Thesia, when are you gonna have a GSD to have people come out and help you do that?
So the question is, when is Thesia having a GSD weekend to finish her skirting for realsies this time?
I'm still looking for my tribe in my part of the world. And so I do have a neighbor that has come and helped me on occasion, but basically I don't know anybody in my area. And unless anybody around here wants to drive 8-10 hours.
Okay, who's from Oklahoma here? Raise your hand. Look, have you met, what's your name again? Andrea Snow? Yes. You two should meet each other.
Yeah.
You should meet each other. There are other Oklahomans there. Also, Bear Independent, who was here last time.
Yeah.
He has a network.
He's not far from me.
You haven't hooked up with him yet?
No.
Oh. You know, I understand they give some interesting classes. You should take one.
I might do that.
You might do that. Okay, any other questions? Anybody on Zoom?
You have somebody just said a comment that says, I needed to hear this, I'm 56 and have wondered how much should I do? How much can I do? How much time do I have? Thank you.
Okay, so the comment was, I'm 56 and I've wondered if I can do this, how much can I do and how much time do I have? Thank you, I needed to hear this. If as Jack Spirko says, if you can still fog a mirror, you can still do something. And I see people who face much harder things than I do more than I do. So, yeah.
So jealous, then why are you doing it?
Yeah, that's right. One step at a time. And when you can't do something, ask yourself, but what can I do today? What thing can I do? We all run into obstacles. Some of them are mental, some of them are real, and you like literally just need that one plumbing part and it's not there. But what can I do? And you'll find out you can do something to move forward. So let's give it up for Thesia.